I seated myself.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, because I was always told you couldn't fill the seat of council.
Oh, well,
liaison,
Tom
planning-
can
Council
concede
planning
it
board. That's
for,
it.
Yeah,
Nobody.
So she's, oh, wait a second.
oh,
Wait a second.
no,
We're
he
not-
can't, no,
Right.
unfortunately not.
No, right.
yeah.
We're missing a council rep.
I don't know that
and
we're
planning board
voting
rep.
anything dramatic, so.
Yeah, what happened? We have some council reps.
We have a new council rep.
Wayne Burton.
Wayne Burton, who was on before Eric. And then he resigned from the council and then Eric took his place. So he's back.
I'm confused.
Wayne Burton?
I know, but I know who Wayne is, but I mean, he's on us?
He was appointed, I guess, by the council to be.
Right.
For,
Yeah,
Yes.
quorum's four.
Quorum
okay, so
four.
it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And foreign persons that
What?
Well, we get
Yeah.
four
We got
voting
an quorum
members.
here. Yeah.
we have a quorum on that.
Well, and Charlotte, we've got 5.
Five, we've got
Five
five members. Okay. Next is approval of the agenda. Any,
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
all right, moved and seconded, any discussion? All those in favor, say, oh, we gotta do a roll call. Charlotte, we'll let you go first.
Okay, I approve, yes.
Carolyn will go.
Carolyn Singer, yes.
Michael Hoffman, yes.
Larry Burton.
Olson Suppian, yes.
Okay, the agenda is approved. Approval of the minutes of July 10th, 2025 and August 4th, 2025. Did we get those? Okay, good. So did folks look at them? I didn't, because
I did.
It came through
I
in the
did.
same email as the
It's- well, the-
Grange information.
pardon me?
Michael sent some background information on the Grange, and they're in the same email as the Grange. So they might have
Okay, thank you. Well, I don't necessarily want to hold them up. Did anyone want a motion to approve them? And let me see, I just want to, I think I was away for one of these. I think the July 10th, I was not here.
I was also absent for the July
Okay.
meeting.
Anyone want to move approval of them?
Yeah, I'll make that motion to approve the minutes of the August 14th.
You were not going to do July 10th? Oh, you want to do them one at a time? Yeah.
You haven't looked at that one yet.
So we'll do them one at a time. Actually, that feels a little more appropriate. Any second?
Which was that for?
August 14th.
August-
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes of August 14th, 2025. We'll start with you, Aaron.
All right, Aaron Wolfson Suppian, yes.
Larry Brickner Wood, yes.
Michael Hoffman, yes.
Carolyn Singer, yes.
Charlotte?
Yes,
All right, the August 14th minutes are approved unanimously. Now, July 10th, which I know I was absent. Aaron, you were absent too.
And so was I.
Okay, so I said, well, we'll all abstain, so we can still be a vote because we're here as a quorum.
I don't think we have to abstain though either. We can vote on.
You can,
Meetings.
it's just kind of practice.
Yeah.
You're right. That was, in the old days, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone who, but we can second too. So
Yeah.
someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes of July 10th, 2025?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
I'll second. Any discussion? Well, we'll go around the table again. Charlotte, we'll start with you. July
Yes, I
10th
approve.
minutes. Well, at frozen, oh, there you go.
yes, I say yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Carolyn.
Carolyn Singer, yes.
Michael Hoffman, yes.
Okay, well, I will abstain just because I'm the chair. Aaron.
I'll vote yes as well.
Okay, well, good.
Breaking tradition here.
Yes.
Hopefully no
All
harm.
right, the minutes of July 10th are approved. Public comments, Brian, I assume, but before you do, I meant to do this at the beginning. So is that okay? I wanted to read the acknowledgement statement and it just went by me. So since, I know we don't read this every meeting, but despite the governor's telling towns they can't call it Indigenous Peoples' Day, it is Indigenous Peoples' Day. Some people refer to it as Columbus Day. So I wanted to, thought it was particularly appropriate to read the land, water, and life acknowledgement statement. The town of Durham, New Hampshire wishes to acknowledge the spiritual and physical connection by the Pennacook, Abenaki, and Wabanaki peoples to Nadakana, homeland, Aki, land, Nibi, water, Lolaquaquac, flora, and Awasak, fauna. New Hampshire has been home to these indigenous people for thousands of years. The residents of Durham acknowledge the ongoing hardships endured by our indigenous neighbors after the loss of their unceded homelands, which we now steward, and we will work to foster relationships to support the well-being of indigenous people who carry forward the traditions of their ancestors. Just a tag on. This is really important to me. It has been since I was in college, and I do find it shocking. And there were even some Democratic reps who voted on the bill where it was included to not let towns call it Indigenous Peoples Day. Now they claim it was part of a bigger bill. It was disheartening in a live free or die state that we have the state government now trying to zone our communities and telling it what a town can call a holiday. I get that, but and so I think there were 10 towns and cities in New Hampshire who had designated it, maybe more. Durham was the first. So we're celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day next Monday. Sorry, Governor Sununu, you can celebrate Columbus Day. Wherever you are. Governor Ayotte. All right. Brian, come join us. You can sit or stand, your choice.
I think I'll sit.
Yeah.
It's a conversation. Well, thanks for the opportunity to.
And Brian, just if you could just say your name and where you live, or.
Oh, right on. Yeah. Hello. Good evening. I'm Brian Bassett, Executive Director of the Freedom Cafe and resident of Town Landing, just around the corner. For the last, a little bit more than 20 years. So thanks for the opportunity to come and dialogue a little bit. I've had when the Freedom Cafe moved into 37 Main Street, the former Grange Hall, part of the vision for us was recognizing that physical space has been a gathering space, supporting, inspiring, connecting the community for over 200 years. It's moved, it's changed quite a lot. It's not always recognized as a Grange Hall anymore, but the space where we reside, while refinished on the inside, is still very much the original fabric of the building. We've even had some UNH professors come in and notice the design of the building and be able to say, oh yeah, that's a Grange Hall, and be able to kind of spout off some different Grange Halls over the years. And so it's sort of been on the back burner for us since we moved in there 4.5 years ago to create some kind of a plaquette that would help people to understand the history of that space. It could be something as simple as a poster board like you see out there, 24 by 36 that we hang on the inside. It could be something as elaborate as something down at the Town Landing that shows sort of a timeline and a history and some of what it had looked like over the years. And so I thought I would like to have some support on that project. I don't know. I would assume that there are a lot of records. I would assume that there are a lot of photos. I would assume that there's, sort of a record of when the building was built, how it was maintained, who utilized it, when it changed hands, how it happened. I know 2012, I think, is when it moved forward and turned into the apartments that it's in. I know before that I moved into town and it was a daycare center. We make coffee in the site of where the old stage was, where all the babies were sleeping. I've heard many parents in town or parents come in and say, my baby was rocked right there behind the curtains. And so I think that it would be a really neat project. We could certainly allocate some funding towards that. We could raise some funds if we wanted to, go on a scale. I wanted to see if it was of interest association, if there was anyone who was inspired by the idea and wanted to work with me to create something Also could certainly reach out to the university and see if there are any students who would want to do a fellowship to put together a project like this, or could reach out to the Boy Scouts and see if there was a Boy Scout who wanted to do an Eagle. So I'm sort of in those preliminary stages, and I wanted to see what kind of ideas you all had, what kind of history you might be already, and what resources might be available to me.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Well, one, I personally think it's a great idea, and thanks for bringing it forward. Sally, I think, had mentioned it earlier, we may just vote if everyone's supportive, which I hope they are. And you all have done a great job with that space. Our youngest was in the daycare there, so I remember it well, and you've done it justice, really even more than the yoga studio that was there. So thank you. Thanks for all the good work.
Thank you.
Any other comments for Brian?
I just wondered, just out of curiosity, how come there's no story of Durham's enslaved population and some of the stories about them, because they're great stories?
Yeah, that's a great. I've talked a little bit with. Oh my gosh, my mind is going to blank now. They own the General Sullivan House. We worked with Joni Osborne, on the 1774, not 1774, the big anniversary last year, and we were talking. She had been talking about rebuilding a slave home there on the property, and I think that is not moving forward. But we've had some conversations about highlighting the history of slavery here, and I think if we start to embark on some of these more historical journeys and creating information about that, then we certainly would do some research in that area as well.
Because there's tons.
Yeah.
You know, Brian, the Durham Historic Association would be a valuable resource, and I imagine supportive, and I imagine they definitely would have some photographs if they're available.
I have them. I mean, I've been researching this.
Carolyn's got
for
Carolyn
5
has done a
years.
tremendous amount of research around enslaved populations.
So-
Okay, so there you go. You got the resource right here to my left. Yeah.
So it sounds like, would you be interested in getting together for a deeper conversation?
Sure.
Great. Yeah.
Yes. So my thought is that the Historic District Committee and Heritage Commission have started on a little bit of a project plaques up. And what I really enjoy is a plaque that gets a lot of people going by.
Mm-hmm.
My thought is something right by the sidewalk, which would identify it, talk about the history, and it could be a brief read, but a very interesting read. I think, you know, my history only goes back to the 80s as well, and it was the same thing. And we used to do daycare presentations in there and fire drills, and one of the best sights in the world was coming down Main Street and seeing all the kids lined up at the picket fence,
that, yeah.
waving to cars. You know, they'd all be out there waving,
Yeah.
and it's so cute to have that right near downtown. I was saddened when the daycare moved out, quite frankly, because it was so much fun to have them there.
Yeah.
All playing. It was just a playground.
It was a really great entrance to the town to see people out playing
And when
playground
they
out there.
went somewhere downtown, there was that long line of kids.
Yeah, and then they had the little wheelbarrow, or the little, whatever you call them, wagons, where they had the wagon carts, where they'd all go down to go get a hot chocolate or something, and
Yeah.
there'd be like 3 wagons with 6 kids in each one.
Yeah, and there was actually a day at the community church too.
Yep.
Little People Center.
Yep.
And so there were 2 right here in town. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
So my thought is, I think that I would like to see the Historic District Commission, you know, take on a joint project and with a plaque out front
That was
masses
it was
could
actually
see.
this evening. I think when the idea first started formulating, I thought an indoor, you know, we have other displays indoors, and then this evening I was like, you know, I love that placket down at the landing. I've, you know, read the one that just went up over on the corner walking by. I was like, oh, that's a new one, and reading and getting that history. So it kind of struck me as well that right out on the sidewalk area would be a great location for a read presentation. Yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
Any thoughts from you all?
No, I love the idea.
You like it?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Tom, you think?
I think it's great.
Let's just a formal vote. I think that would be helpful. And
We didn't check with Charlotte.
Charlotte, what do you think?
It sounds like a great idea. I'm wondering if there would be some acknowledgement of the fact that the building was moved in the mid, 2015 or so, or was it before that? Because where was the playground? Was the playground was farther back?
Yeah, the playground was in front,
Yeah.
and it was moved back, and it does, yeah, there's a lot of history.
And so that's something that really changed this building's relationship with the street. And, so that should be worked in.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
It's part of the story.
Well, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea that we could get a freestanding bronze plaque. And Franklin Bronze, is great, and we have a good relationship with them. So freestanding near the sidewalk. I'm assuming it would be one-sided. I'm not sure that you could have it two-sided if there was a timeline, but probably one-sided facing the front would be good. And and you could put an image of, if there was an old image that you wanted to put on, although it probably doesn't look much different. And then a history on it, and we all can coordinate on the language, and then we can just order it from Franklin Bronze. So two points. We got a freestanding plaque for the ATO fraternity on Garrison Avenue, and ATO paid for this. We worked with them on it, and freestanding, and in less than a week, it was stolen. And it's gone, and we can't.
Really?
It's really sad. It's beautiful.
Freestanding but was it cemented in?
It was cemented in.
Wow.
I don't know what happened. I expect maybe the gentleman who put in the post didn't put in enough concrete.
So the base and all, everything?
Well, it's just dirt now. I'm assuming they must have yanked it out, and I don't know if it just came out of the concrete. I'm assuming, I don't think he put much concrete in. But so we should just be mindful. I would certainly think that if we put, we dig it out and we put in a lot of concrete, nobody's going to take it. Their freestanding posts are very strong. And the cost, there was like $1,200. And then, you'd have to figure out how to handle the cost on this.
Yeah. I think there's a lot that, I didn't know that had been stolen. I guess I missed it. And there's no cameras. I mean, I just assume everything today is being filmed. Yeah. So there's no cameras. Are there any cameras that would pick up, like, if someone did steal it at the Grange or at the old Grange Hall?
We'd be happy to have one. We do have a ring that's pointing into our outdoors, so it wouldn't be hard to do another one.
Yeah, and we can make things quite vandal resistant.
Yeah. Put a sign up, don't steal this.
I'm thinking of a lally column that we can't get out of a parking lot right now that we've been working at. You can put enough concrete around a 4-inch concrete filled alley, and nobody's getting it out without heavy equipment.
On the topic of theft, we did have our one of our Adirondack chairs. The first day that it was painted, went away. A long piece of wiring and locked it all up, and we haven't lost anything outdoors since.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the shadow side of humanity, isn't it? Yeah. Well, can we make a motion just to formally support?
I would certainly make that motion to formally support the project, inclusive of up to and including a plaque.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mike. Any
But
second?
you're not making any statement about the cost. That'll be worked out, talked
Yeah,
about later.
I think it's early.
We'll work it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and it may even be that it comes in next year's budget. So, yeah. Any?
Second Mike's motion.
Okay. Any discussion? All right. We'll do a roll call. I'll start with you, Aaron.
All right. Aaron Wolfson-Suppian, yes.
Larry Bruckner-Wood, yes.
Michael Hoffman, yes.
Carolyn Singer, yes.
Charlotte?
Yes.
Okay. It's unanimously supported, and thank you,
Very
Brian.
exciting.
It's a great
thank
idea.
you so much. I'll look forward
You
to
definitely.
meeting with you, Carolyn.
In here.
Thanks so much.
If
Thank
you
you.
meet at the cafe, you might get a cup of coffee.
For sure. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Brian. Great. You go there? All right, that was actually item 7. I'm assuming, Rachel, is there anyone else on, other than Charlotte on Zoom?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Ooh, man.
Thank you for the chocolate too, by the way. All right, and item 8, potential projects and updates on recent projects. So, this is just a list. We definitely wanted to do these things, and we're just checking in and maybe do a little more formal allocation of folks who might be willing to spearhead one of them or the other. Acknowledging that Carolyn is a number of things. All right, the entrance signs, the historic district, which I think we've identified the locations, but I know we had talked about a design and doing different things. Have we moved anywhere on that?
Not a lot, but Charlotte has, I'll let Charlotte go because she's the one who spearheaded it.
Okay, well, Michael, did you get an email from me yesterday?
Yes. Oh, Mitch Michael.
Oh, Michael Barrett.
And he
And
forwarded.
both Mike and Aaron. I sent it, I had some thoughts, I wrote them up. I sent them an email, I was hoping everybody would have gotten it, but my email here is a little spotty, so I'm never sure if things actually went out.
I got it, Charlotte.
And I
Okay.
received that as well.
So I'll just outline it, what my thoughts were.
Okay.
I was thinking, as I've been driving around, and looking at the signs that we have, and thinking, I thought that maybe it would be, rather than making new signs at all the entrances to maybe we should leave the signs that we have that are small, but we should have bigger signs in a few significant locations, such as in front of the town pound and talking about Broth Hill, and then another one maybe at the Schoolhouse Lane burial ground, and another one at the top of Church Hill where the church has been doing so much restoration, and the Red Tower is a significant building. We'd have a bigger sign in those places that would have more information than just here you are in the historic district. And then that would sort of put attention on some of the most interesting and best preserved.
I like those thoughts. They're good thoughts. So we're really just doing progress updates, and it sounds like we've got a great group on this one. So we got Charlotte, Mike, and Aaron. Yeah, thank you. And I like that idea, Charlotte, and definitely has merit. And it utilizes the signs we do have there rather than getting rid of them. So in terms of go ahead.
We might want to move the one at the south end of the district that now has a driveway almost running through it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, just run over, but.
Yes. Okay.
It's like a driveway marker,
Right.
right?
Yes.
That's what it is right now, it's a driveway marker.
And then signage for the Schoolhouse Lane Cemetery. And I know you had sent me an email. I just wasn't able to get
Yeah, I think, well,
response.
Janet couldn't come
Yeah,
tonight,
I
so
know.
if we can table that till
Yeah.
the next one.
Yeah. There has been, just in terms of this, not the signage, but Public Works has done some cleanup work in the cemetery since we had asked them. So signs for placement on private buildings. And I think, Mike, you sent something around about that.
Well, yeah, it's something that we can consider. It's something that would likely be more on the private side than on the private-public partnership, although it could be. I think that there are towns that will jointly fund signage if somebody wants one, and the structures are juried, so the Historic District Commission would say, yes, this one's worthy, and the upkeep is, or it may be, as that one sign was, to honor the upkeep and historic maintenance of a building in one town. But I've seen a number of varieties. I think they're nice. I think it makes it interesting to walk down the street and see, and also give credit to people who are voluntarily keeping their properties historic.
Yeah, I like that idea. And the idea is to have a consistent sign, so
Right.
that, Thank you. it would be a nice way, and this would also be properties outside the district, so they could be anywhere in
Absolutely,
town.
yeah.
Can you just clarify, are these the signs that are on the house and say, from, 1825 or whatever, or are they more descriptive?
They could be. I've looked at a few different examples, and some are slightly more descriptive. We do see something circa 1735 or something pretty brief, but then I've seen some that are essentially awards from the HDC or from the Heritage Commission, the historic districts of various towns and throughout the country, really, too, saying that this is presented to the owners of 14 Schoolhouse Lane for their exemplar. So it becomes kind of a bragging right, is I get an award from the town for maintaining my property in a historic way. So there's a variety that can be done. I think that if it's too brief, they just don't mean a lot. When it just says circa something. But I think a little teeny description of whatever single property was at one time. If it was, Judge Tenney owned this property, built for his daughter, or whatever. And it could be something 10, 15 words, and it makes it just a little more interesting. Short enough people will actually read it, and the property becomes known as whatever the Tenney house or the whatever. And just to me, it makes a community a little bit more vibrant if you know the heritage of the community.
Yeah, it's a nice, and it also involves the private, our private owners in and out of the district.
Right.
In a positive way.
Right.
I do like the partnership piece, as everywhere, money's tight, but
Yeah.
it might be nice if we could get at least an idea of what the kind of sign might cost.
Yeah, and those, we did wooden signs in another town, and they only lasted about 10 years. They were oak, and then they all cupped, and the paint came off. The lettering that we had either hand painted or did vinyl lettering and sprayed lacquer over, they all failed. While I'm not a big fan of plastic as a general rule, there are some plastic sign materials that just look like wood and last a lot better.
Yeah.
When you make the jump from those materials to a plaque, you're talking $100 to $1,000 pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the tendency to. The
go
risk
ahead.
of theft. If it's bronze, there's a risk of theft. And so using a material that's not valuable, easy to recreate if something happens to it. There are a lot of arguments for
agree.
that, I think.
Right.
Yeah, the signs have been made of urethane, which is a good solid material, and it can look like wood. The sign companies may have some other material that they're using, but we could reach out. I think Sundance Signs has been the most active company. We could reach out to them and send them some samples. We've looked at different things on the internet, and there's a lot of nice things. We could ask them, give them some idea, ask them to come up with a template and give us a price. Maybe it's, I don't know, $200, $300, a lot less than bronze. And we have a basic template and something that can be readily attached to a wood frame house and, would last if it's urethane. And it would basically be, if there's a name, maybe the owner and the date, maybe a little more room. And if a property owner was in a building that was significant and B, willing to use this sign, then the town could split it 50-50 with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I can reach out. I think Sundance has been, I'll reach out to Sundance Signs, see
Okay.
what they can come
Yeah,
up
it'd be
with.
nice to get it, a ballpark.
Yeah,
Range.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for bringing that. Event at Hamilton Smith Chapel. A few weeks ago, I forgot his name, and someone from the faculty neighborhood had emailed in about. Smith
That's
Park.
scheduled.
It is scheduled.
It is, and it's an odd time, so it's Sunday, the 19th, from 2 to 12, from 10 to 12.
In, I assume
That's
October.
19th of October?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sunday, 10/19 from 2.
10 to
10 to 12.
10 to 12,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, there was a woman also, she inquired from me who she should speak to using that for a wedding. And
Oh,
I
golly,
steered
I've
her
done
to Rich
several.
Rain, and
Yeah.
I don't know, she said she was having back from people, but I don't really know who is the official contact to reserve that spot.
Well, I've probably done 7 or 8 weddings there, and it was Public Works.
Yeah.
And I was talking to them about that specific thing today, and it's one of the receptionists, they
Yeah.
were saying that there, I think, was only one request last year, but I think that whole policy needs to be revisited because it's $250 to rent it for a wedding, but who's cleaning it?
Yeah.
So the question is, who's cleaning it for next Sunday? And if anybody wants to help me,
Oh, you're cleaning it?
well,
Are you talking prior or after?
no, before.
Oh,
It's
before.
pretty dusty and,
Yeah, yeah.
so if anybody would like to help me clean it,
So who holds the keys? Do you go to
I have the
Public
key.
Works?
I have the key because we have to go in and clean it.
Yeah, okay.
Did
So
you get that from Public Works?
Yeah.
Yeah, they let us have a key, gosh, for a long time at Ways.
Yeah.
It was on this big giant piece of wood, but, yeah.
Yeah,
And we did, besides weddings, we did
it a
use it,
wedding? Have you been in?
probably once a month for things.
yeah, yeah.
Because,
I've been in
but as you said and many others, the more it's used, actually, the better, it's not going to
It's
deteriorate.
appreciated,
basically.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, and it is an amazing structure.
Yeah.
I have a question, excuse me, I've never been in, is there electric in it, is it
Yeah.
lit?
Yes.
There is
Yeah.
lighting in there,
Yeah.
well, that's good.
Yeah.
And very nicely, they light it at night during Christmas time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder, you too, I imagine some people in faculty might be excited about doing some stuff as well. And, okay, well, thanks for so October 19th from 10 to 12, there'll be an event.
So,
Well, it's open.
It's open. So like an open house.
Right. So-
Okay.
So Janet will be to answer any questions about it.
Okay.
And I will be there too.
so when would we have to be there to do any kind of cleanup or anything?
I will, I have a schedule for Friday at 11, if you can do that.
Okay,
17th? Okay. 11, 7, 10, 17, 11, did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that work for people?
yeah,
I think it works for me, yeah.
what do we need to bring?
Does anybody have a shop vac?
Yeah,
If you bring that, that would be great.
as long as you got a plug, that's why I asked.
There is.
Okay.
There are
Yeah,
several
it's
plugs.
definitely a functional space.
So this is open to the public on Sunday, October 19th from 10 to 12. It's really like an open house?
Yes, it's been in Friday updates a couple of times.
Oh, it has been. Well, that's nice. Okay.
Can
All right, so is there anything else that we can do to help with that?
Just help cleaning, help.
Yeah,
help
okay.
clean. Okay.
Definitely, that would be a big help.
I just want to make one suggestion. If
Great.
we're having something like this open, would it be out of place to have a donation box of any kind?
I'll turn to.
Well, I was going to actually have something available about what's going on at Wagon Hill Farm to see if people want to, but I think
Well, we haven't taken care of the leak problem over there, or have they?
Oh, at the
At the chapel?
Well, there are some trust funds though set up for the,
Oh, there are?
Yeah.
I thought there was
So-
an issue with, last time we were talking about this, I thought there was an issue with money to do some of the repairs.
well, there
over
is, I don't know what the accounts are at now, but we did have a mason come in and assess, the problem is that the, what's it called, the mortar was not the correct type when it was redone just about 10 or 15 years ago, so it's not holding. So I think if I recall, it was in the range of $40,000 to do it again. And, right now we don't have that. Plus, I think we were just paying off the bond, and it would not have to redo it, and ask the same
Yeah,
funders
yeah.
to, so, that's on our agenda, but we want to get Wagon Hill done first.
Definitely. And so at the event, you'll have information and folks could donate to the.
I think so.
Okay. Good.
You know, and I'm curious, now, towns can create a 501c something, C5, C2, I don't know. Well, what town is it? It's not a C3, which has to be non-governmental related. But I know in one 501c3 that I'm involved with, other organizations, and some is us, to be the
Yeah.
fiscal agent. And it allows for donations, and we can earmark money. I'm curious if association, they certainly are 501c3, and they could create a QR code for donations and post that at the door. And people with their phones, it's just so easy to say, oh yeah, you know, I'll Venmo, I'll do this, whatever.
Rather than opening up your wallet.
Yeah, and some of the QR codes can be set for a certain amount. You can say, whatever, $3, and you just QR code it and send $3 or whatever, or you can leave it
You've
blank.
hit something on the head, because ever since COVID, most people don't carry cash.
Yeah, that's
I
exactly.
don't have much
In fact,
cash.
some
on
places
me.
don't take cash anymore.
Well, that's the thing, people don't carry
Yeah.
cash,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and, yeah,
or they have their
Yeah.
phone wallet.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
check.
we do have a QR code on some signs at Wagon Hill, and I think 5 people.
Yeah, it's not, doesn't get a heavy, sometimes it doesn't get heavy usage, but it's, it's something that can be reused over and over again. Any event, it could be at Durham Days, it could be, this one QR code could bounce around and see
Well,
what you get.
We have it hooked up to one of the trust funds that we established. So, the town has done that, so they could do another one theoretically for Smith.
Yeah.
But they couldn't do it for next Sunday.
It'd be interesting to talk to finance department, maybe that could, any monies that came in that day, we know it's for Smith Chapel, I don't know. The finance department would know that's
Yeah.
what they could and couldn't do,
Yeah.
but.
Well, there's the Heritage Trust, the Heritage
Yeah.
Fund that we have, yeah.
Any other thoughts? Thanks, Carolyn. Thanks for the work on that, the open house. Training for HDC members. Michael, did you put that
That was,
on?
we had that wonderful training,
Yeah.
whatever that was, 4 years ago with camp. And then there are periodic events with the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance and New Hampshire Historic Resources. And Carolyn, you had some ideas about potential training.
Well, so the certified local government grants, grant deadline was about a month ago. And I found out the day before. So we hadn't discussed anything, so I theoretically just put in a request for anything at Wagon Hill Farm.
Yeah.
And with them today, as a matter of fact, and they said that they have 3 priorities. Priority 1 is training and, preservation studies. And they only have $70,000 to give away, and they have 120 in requests at the planning level. So since I asked for other things, I'm still going to apply, but I'm only going to get anything if somebody doesn't submit a grant who intended to. And so I would say next year, maybe we plan admitting for another camp training, and then maybe keep our eyes open for additional training for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And that's a program we should be cognizant of every year, just in terms of trying to utilize it. Yeah, okay. Any other thoughts, folks?
Well, we might want to be a little more proactive in making sure the commission does get some training, because, for those of us who did the camp training that we had, have some expertise now, but some people, people come and go, so it might be good to have a policy, or I don't know how we would do it, but just to make sure that everybody gets trained.
I can definitely see an orientation. When you say training, I don't want folks to think that you have to go through something to volunteer for the commission. So, and also we all could utilize a training. So, but I think an orientation is a good idea. And, but we'd have to set something up in order for folks to go through that. I wonder if there's other communities that do that.
Well, I would think we can check and see if the Preservation Alliance does anything.
Oh, that's true, and if they have yeah, that would be nice. Really active communities. Okay. All right, potential zoning amendments. I asked that be on. We talked about going through the historic district part of the zoning ordinance just for possible changes. And, you know, I know I haven't done anything on it, but I think it's well worth doing. And I can't remember now who volunteered to do it with me. I know there was at least one volunteer, and I thought it might be Mike or Aaron, but I don't want to put that in your...
Oh, so Larry, this
And
was,
I think Charlotte volunteered too.
was this to look at the current HD ordinance and
The
go
whole
through it and
ordinance,
see
yeah, because,
what?
you know, we've had the tree, you know, and it's, I don't know when the last, certainly in my time here, we haven't done it. And I don't know when the last, maybe around the last master plan, I don't know if it was done then, but it could, the answer is, oh, it looks great. But I don't know that we've systematically looked at it. And, well, certainly haven't in the 6 or 8 years I've been here.
Well, it did, but that was under, when Peter Stanhope was chair.
Okay. So
We went through everything and considered, you know, potential amendments, but, you know, that was whatever, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
More than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe I might have raised my hand on that, and I would be willing to do
Okay.
that. I look through ordinances every day.
I know, and you, yeah, so we'll get together and,
Yeah.
and in line with that, I know I've talked about this one for a long time, the HDC website, I know, I just think it could, besides a graphic restructuring, it's a little hodgepodge as to what's the commission stuff and what's just stuff people have posted up there, so I'd be willing to just go through it from an organizational standpoint. I don't have any graphic design eyes and skills, but the website could use some work.
Yeah, I would work with you on that, because I've been often irritated by the fact they're organized well, and it's hard to find things, and they're not all where they should be.
Yeah, and sometimes what's on there looks like it might sit, but we didn't. And so definitely we want to distinguish that. Okay, Charlotte, maybe you and I get together and talk to Michael, who's the website person now?
Craig Stevens is.
Oh, Craig's doing that?
Yeah, he'd
Okay.
be the best person.
Okay.
He's
Craig's-
part-time, he's busy.
Craig's still
but-
working part-time?
Yeah, but he'll do what he can. He's very helpful. of
Okay,
course.
yeah, he is great.
And if he's not responsive, then talk to Rachel.
Has anyone replaced Craig in terms of his position?
No,
Okay,
I think it's going to remain part-time.
okay.
But I think that Rachel may not be here much longer either.
Rachel, is it?
No, I'm here. It's my other job. I'm not going to be at it.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, thank God.
Well, maybe you could
Thank
be
you.
a candidate for the town job. You
It's
know,
nepotism.
no, well, one, the town has had related people working for it. Yeah, so there is precedent for that. And certainly the university has numerous folks who are related working there.
Absolutely.
So,
Small towns, these things happen.
and there actually isn't, at least to my knowledge, a formal policy around nepotism. So we'll talk. I keep looking at Charlotte because
Yeah.
the voice is coming
The voice
from
comes
there,
from
but-
Charlotte's speaker.
You know, maybe we can get you to put a little TV so we can see you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, staff report.
Oh, nothing to report.
Okay. A report from the HCC members who serve on other boards and committees.
Might be brief tonight.
Yeah. Any updates?
Well,
Yes.
I'm on the Land Stewardship Committee, and they're in the process of putting kiosks on the trails. And we've discussed and have actually created a subcommittee for Wagon Hill Farm to look at, interpretive signs throughout the site.
Okay.
So that's kind of coming up.
Yeah. So the kiosk will be educational, informational?
Well,
or-
I think what they're trying to do is standardize, the information on all of the, trails
Okay.
and, can and cannot do.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
and then maybe some unique things about each individual site. But, people are, I think they're allowing e-bikes on some trails and not on others, so.
That's thorny.
It is, but, I was surprised, something I wouldn't favor, but, it's going through and everybody is, is pro having, but,
Oh, e-bikes on
Yeah.
the,
Yeah, they're different, but, so, yeah.
Yeah, they do cause erosion.
Yeah.
Any wheeled vehicle on soft trails near a shoreline is a questionable practice because of the erosion component. But
well, when mountain bikes came out, there was, between hikers and mountain bikers, a lot of, some tension, kind of like with snowboarders and skiers. But e-bikes, I'm all for e-bikes. I'm a bicyclist, but they are different. They're a different animal. One, they go a heck of a lot faster. And they're incredibly heavy. They're much heavier than a non-motorized bike. So I'm surprised. It's not like we have the kinds of trails that.
Well, I hope I'm using the right terminology.
Yeah.
But, they are allowing, bicycle,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know there's some bike advocates who are connected there. I know in the national parks, if they allow e-bikes, they don't allow the ones with the turbo on them.
Well, there are different
Yeah,
classifications.
yeah, because that
So-
turbo can get up to 40 miles an hour. with
Well,
turbo
the
bikes.
question is, who's monitoring this stuff? And,
Yeah.
that's to me but,
Okay.
and no, the Nature Conservancy, many of their trails, the bikes are allowed when the ground is frozen, and they're not allowed when it's not frozen.
Yeah,
Because I do some mountain biking, and there are a lot of trails I'm not allowed to go on in the
Yeah.
summer.
yeah,
But frozen ground doesn't erode,
yeah.
so.
Okay. Any other reports from any boards, committees? Any other business?
yes, I want to make sure that, relative to Wagon Hill Farm and the Bickford Chesley House, as many of you know, we're putting a changing exhibit gallery in on the first floor. And there have been several rounds of fundraising for this. And Kenny gave $3,000, for the gallery. We also have had GoFundMe's, and we've had a request in Friday. And then we have 2 trust funds, one that was set up for Wagon Hill Farm, and then one that was set up for other sources within the community. So at this point in time, I'm not sure where the Kennebunk Savings $3,000 is. It could be in Public Works. But I want, in case it's in one of the trust funds, I wanted to make sure we voted to be able to spend that from the trust fund because it was allocated to the gallery. And then also, if we could, I don't know what the procedure is for tapping into some of the other trust funds. For example, we did do a GoFundMe at Wagon Hill Farm for that account. And I think there's about $500 in there. I don't know, but that money was going into the Wagon Hill account.
Yeah.
I think at one point I tallied up all 3 accounts and it was, maybe 5,000. But for right now, I think to get started, I'd like to, can we access some of this money and, I'd like to vote to maybe access up to $4,000 that includes Kennebunk Savings, if it's in one of the trust funds, but maybe $1,000 from either one of the trust funds, one that was set up specifically for Wagon Hill and the other one that was set up for historic resources.
Yeah. Well, can we do this? It makes sense. The 3,000, and thank Kennebunk, who really is a community-minded bank. But to acknowledge their 3,000 contribution and to say use for Wagon Hill, because is that why they gave it?
It was a grant I wrote specifically asking for that purpose.
Yeah,
So there's no
Can
question
we just
that.
formally move that in case it is floating around in the wrong fund?
Yeah, if you're looking for a motion,
Yeah, why don't
absolutely.
we do it just to get it on the
Absolutely do a
record?
motion that we write a formal letter to Kennebunk Savings
Yeah.
expressing thanks.
Well, that's already been done.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that 3,000 be specifically allocated to the Wagon Hill Gallery or?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
think in order to release it, if it's in one of these trust funds, that's what we have to do.
Yeah,
You know, you have to request it from the trustees of the trust
Yeah.
funds
yeah,
with, they just make sure it's for exactly what it was intended for.
yeah.
And then they bless it, but I think there's an application to the trustee of the trust funds.
Yeah, there's a little paper, it's
Okay.
not, so I wanted to do the Kennebunk savings separate, and then we
Okay,
can
that's-
also do it for other,
That's fine, because I don't know what the procedures is, and I don't know if that's where the Kennebunk savings, but I'm getting ready to order some exhibit
Yeah.
cases, so I do want to be able to access that,
well, we can find out where that check went, and,
so.
yeah, so a motion that 3,000, to acknowledge the gift, and the 3,000 be specifically allocated to the gallery at Wagon Hill?
And to be
Victor
taken
Chesley.
out from the trust fund, if that's where it is.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
To approve that.
Well, my sense was if we vote that that's where it should go, no matter where it ended up, that's where it would be allocated to. Because hopefully it went to, but I mean, that feels a little more mechanical if it's in some place that it be
The
moved.
finance department will route
Yeah.
it to the right place. That's what they do.
Yeah, so we can find out tomorrow where that money went.
But if it is in the trust fund, we have to vote. to-
Yeah, I know, but that was my second one.
Okay,
I wanted
okay.
to do the 3,000 separate and then
Okay.
vote to request money for the whole project out of the trust fund.
Okay, but I want to make sure that the $3,000, I think that is, I don't know what trust fund it's in,
I know.
if it is.
Well, if you make the motion to spend it on it doesn't matter where it is.
Okay,
That's
all
where
right,
it'll
all
go.
right, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
it's-
okay.
So,
I appreciate that.
yeah. Was there a second?
Oh, yeah, I'll second.
Okay, moved and second. Any more discussion? Okay, just to clarify that, one, acknowledge the gift, which has been, they've been thanked, and that 3,000 be specifically allocated towards the gallery at Wagon Hill, and we'll find out where it went.
It couldn't have gone far.
Couldn't have gone far, and yeah, yes,
You get
folks are
audited
pretty-
once a year.
All those in favor, Carol, let's start with your side. Oh, no, Charlotte, let's start with you on this one. I'm trying to keep
Okay,
track.
yes, you say yes.
There's a yes.
Carolyn Singer, yes.
Michael Hoffman, yes.
Larry Berkner Wood, yes.
Aaron Wolfson Slepian, yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Now, do you want to make a separate motion for the bigger amount?
Take out, let's just say 1,500 from either of those two accounts. One of them is specific to Wagon Hill Farm, the other is more generic to historic resources. So depending on what the balance is in each count.
Okay, so if we make a motion that we want to ask the trustees to withdraw 1,500 for the project at Wagon Hill, and, you know, they can maybe decide if there's not enough in one fund
Right.
to take it out of the other.
Right.
Anyone want to move that we spend $1,500 for the project at Wagon Hill and the Victor Chesley House, and that it come out of the trust funds?
I'll make the motion.
Can I second?
Yes, you definitely can. It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Carolyn, we'll go to you this time.
Okay, Carolyn Singer, yes.
Michael Hoffman, yes.
Larry Berkner Wood, yes.
Aaron Wolfson Slepian, yes.
Charlotte?
Charlie,
Yes. It's unanimous. Okay. Great. Thanks for, Carolyn, thank you for the reaching out to Kennebunk, and thank you. It's exciting. It'll be, would have to definitely have a grand opening when that time
You should
comes.
see it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's right. We were gonna go see it, and Rich was a little concerned.
Yeah, yeah, and now now's not a good time, so
Yeah.
you'll probably have to wait till spring.
Okay. Any other business?
I have two items.
Okay.
One, as coming up here, the RFIB, the rapid flashing
Oh, yeah.
intermittent beacon out here. It's very nice. It does its job. It's essential, and somebody was using it, I couldn't see them. My only thought is that it is a historic district, and when we create public structures in a historic district, we should probably try and put them under the same, or at least try and achieve the same scrutiny that we would of a private person. It's a bright aluminum pole with bright aluminum and yellow, and we've spent a lot of money on very historic light fixtures that are nice cast iron, and we do a lot of things, and we did a lot of things, and when we changed this intersection to have a traffic light, the HDC really pushed the state to have all the signposts black and round, so they looked good. And slowly but surely, we're putting up brushed aluminum poles that just aren't in context with that themed hardware. And, I look at any building, you try and match all your hardware. You don't try and have brushed chrome here and flat black there and bronze over there.
Excuse me, Mike, who put this up? Was it the town or?
The town.
And that's a state highway.
Yeah, it would have had to have been a partnership with the
Yeah.
state, and because state has to approve it, even if the town.
Because that's the same really what we have in Newmarket.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah,
idea.
yeah,
And we did talk about that, because remember Todd originally we were doing the flags?
yeah.
We did talk
That's a
about
good point, yeah.
It is a good point. Actually,
Yeah.
I don't know, we may have been coming the same time. I noticed folks were using it, but you're right, I couldn't see them. I knew one was probably crossing, but it took me, I was almost right up before I could actually see them.
That's same here.
Yeah.
So they are essential. They're a little detraction from the historic district, but safety before
Yeah,
aesthetics.
but we want maybe to be conscious that they,
But it certainly would be nice if we, because we've added, there are some other poles that are a little bit newer that haven't kept with that black theme. And it looked good for a while. The first 10 years, it looked really good. But we keep adding things that aren't matching roadside infrastructure. And
Because once one starts, another one will start.
yeah, exactly. We
problem,
keep and Durham pushed hard for that. The DOT,
Kick
will
back,
probably,
yeah.
those who remember Durham pushed. They wanted all the black round poles for the, and they got them. I mean, and the DOT now has done it, and they did it at Scammell Bridge
Right,
as well, and I don't
right.
think anybody pushed them to do it. They
Yeah.
just wanted to look good. So
Continue with that
anyway, I
theme.
think that's one thing
Yeah.
that I don't know if we try and get that message to Rich Rain or to,
Yeah, well,
who would be the best party.
well, probably Public Works.
Yeah, Rich.
I think
Yeah.
we definitely reach out to Rich and
Yeah.
maybe if there were examples we gave him, and maybe the black poles are it, but.
And I could send
I
you
think
a couple
he'd be- I think he'd be
photos
sent-
because, and that might trigger you
If
to,
you could, that would be great.
yeah. And then the second item I have, I'm very moved by the courthouse because I think of it every time I'm at the light, at the traffic light. And that if I owned that building, I would never allow white PVC on the outside of the building and aluminum vent covers. And so some of the newer structures on that, I've painted some of those just with Rust-Oleum paint and it looks like brick and it matches much better. But the exhaust and intake vent for the gas furnace, one's gray and one's white and they're both goosenecked out. And it's plastic sticking out of probably our most notable building, or one of our most notable buildings in the
One-
historic district.
With that same, if I can elaborate on it a little, Michael, you had sent to all of us not too long ago about storm windows for historic preservation, which would be on the inside, okay? You know where would be a good place to start this? Right here on the corner, get those ugly storm windows off that I drive by there, and I swear to God, I'd like to throw a rock through them because they're so bad. Tomorrow there'd be a rock through them and I didn't do it, but really, I mean, it's a beautiful
Yeah.
building.
That's a good thought, Tom.
And get rid of those storms. I mean, I know we can't do it this year, but it's something for the long, but when Michael mentioned that, I didn't even think about, I know I've seen these before, you probably,
Yeah.
and I said, what a neat thing to have. The windows would really stand out, and the storms would be on the inside instead of this ugly-looking aluminum you know what that looks like? Late 1950s and 60s, that's what you're looking at
That's a
over there.
great thought,
It-
and we could also be the model. for-
Price-wise, you know, I think we could probably get a good price on something like that to
Well,
get it
they're
done.
inexpensive. I put them on one building, I had arched windows,
Yeah.
brick arched windows, and so a storm window to fit on the outside of an arched window was going to be unbelievable, you know, $4,000 a piece
You
or
know, you
something.
see this a lot of times at churches because they cover stained glass that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, St. George's has their stained
Exactly.
glass is covered.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I've used them, and it works even more, better now that people aren't trying to use the windows on
I just
for
feel
ventilation.
where that's the focal point in this town, what better place could we start with doing something
Yeah.
like this? So here on in, when we have these people coming to us with this issue with windows, which we know it's going to come up again and again and again, we can point to this and say, this is what the town has done.
Yeah, I think a good model.
I mean, just a thought. I mean,
No, I think it's a good thought. And in your original point, Mike, about some of the utilitarian stuff there, about being,
Yeah, I think
Done
it's
differently.
just a little bit of attention to detail and not allowing the plastic pipe hanging off the outside of the building
Yeah.
or these aluminum they look like dryer vents.
You know, I believe that when they were planning that new furnace, they said that they were going to make all of the pipes match the brick color.
yeah, because they
So
did.
we should hold them to that.
They came, and Charlotte worked with, they did, that one they did come to us and we had a discussion.
Yeah.
How about if folks are okay, if we reach out to Rich and, Mike, are you willing to meet with Rich and I?
Oh,
and
sure,
Go around,
sure.
or maybe Sam,
Yeah.
go around the building, point out where,
Absolutely.
and then we can point out that they actually had agreed to do
And
that.
I can, again, take a couple quick photos just to prime
Yeah.
everybody and say, you know, this is kind of what we're talking about. And it's really not that hard to do.
No.
A few cans of Rust-Oleum paint. I've done it to line set covers. I've done it to conduit, gas piping, you know, just, and brick
Well-
red just all of a sudden it disappears.
And we got the sign up there now, so,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyone have, go ahead, Tom.
two questions I have. One regarding the courthouse. Where are we now with the signage on the outside?
Oh, fortunately, I know who's the director at the Olson Center, and he's a brilliant guy that works with industry, light industry, and all kinds of creative things. And he looked at that, and he came up with a good way to support it with various phalanges and supports, and he's looking into producing that for us.
So this to be affixed to the building?
It would be affixed to the building to
Nice.
support it. He's a very busy guy, though, and so I just...
Doesn't sound like it'll be done in calendar year 25 then.
I don't think so. But I'm going to stay on him because, you know, I just don't understand it. Franklin Bronze is a very good company, and they give us this excellent plaque. It's very solid. And yet, 4 bolts that go in shallow and then supposed to go into old brick, it just didn't make any, doesn't make
I've got
any
a
sense.
71-pound plaque that's going on a piece of granite, 71 pounds, so it's about 3 feet by a foot and a half. Those 4 stainless steel 1/4x20 bolts have shear strengths of about 2,000 pounds apiece. So it's a thin piece of cable is incredibly strong. Stainless steel, grade 8 stainless steel is extremely strong. The shear strength is, it's just, and they sell these plaques, they sell thousands and thousands of these plaques, and that's their system. I think we're possibly overthinking it a little. I think that, you know, I sent out something with the shear strength calcs on the bolts.
Yeah,
And-
I agree with Mike.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
here's somebody who I think knows a little bit about shear strength.
Yeah, the sign feels heavy for a sign, but in the scheme of, you know, structural materials and their shear, it's nothing.
Well, if you know,
Appliance,
John doesn't produce, if we don't get it done within the next few months, we'll have to revisit that. The thing that also struck me is not only are they 4 bolts that, I mean, I defer to you on but the depth that they go in on the plaque is
The
is
bolts are
tiny.
about 2 inches long.
Yeah, but the depth on the plaque is really short.
Yeah, and if
It's-
once you have about a thread and a half, you have almost full strength. So it really only takes, you know, whatever,
like a quarter
of an
inch.
Yeah, and those
Really?
go in probably a half an inch. But, you know, we can also show it to
Yeah.
April Talent. We have a town, and, you know, she'll have a good background as
Well, Erin's a structural engineer.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, if John, just is forward within a few months,
Yeah.
then we'll have to return to this and figure something out.
Yeah, I mean, but I agree with Mike. I don't think there's anything to figure out in reality. I think installing per manufacturer specifications would be sufficient.
I would also say all the plaques in Newmarket are attached.
And they're heavy bronze plaques?
They are from Franklin Bronze, same exact plaques, and like I say, the one we're getting right now is 71 pounds, so, but that's their standard
weight on this
procedure, and
one,
it's
right?
worked fine.
And 4 small bolts
Oh,
just
that's
threaded a
the
little
same,
bit into
50 to
old brick.
75.
Yeah.
And we
Lag
talked
bolts
about
would
with
work,
Aaron,
and
the best way to
a
do
lag
that,
would
whether
work.
it's drilled and you have
Yeah,
some
I mean,
kind of
it's,
epoxy or.
Well, there is an
It's similar,
epoxy, because
yeah.
you don't want the metal, that hard stainless directly against masonry.
Yeah.
So you have a compound which
Right,
can deal with the differential coefficients of expansion.
yeah,
I think I'm remembering this
Equal.
right. I dropped out, so I don't know.
yeah.
So if I could sum up, one, we worked hard on designing and getting, we'd love to get up as quickly as possible. And I certainly defer to folks who are experts in that field, so let's do that. If this fella,
Yeah.
can you just ask him what his time frame could be?
Yeah, he's really excellent. He's also the guy, I mean, he was concerned and he's a metallurgist. He's got all these incredible industrial things. So I defer to you guys ultimately if we have to do it.
I think that, if it's 100, each bolt is got 25 pounds of load. If you can
Yeah.
grab a 1/4-inch piece of stainless and apply 25 pounds and snap it in half, then so.
Right, if John's busy, if we can't get it done, clarified within a few months,
Yeah.
then we'll do this.
Here's, I know how busy people are, but just ask him what time frame. Thank you,
Yeah.
but what time frame can you do it?
Yeah.
We're heading on into winter, but if you can't do it, just tell us,
Yeah.
and we'll go with maybe the manufacturer specifications.
And I also have to a little bit of what the brackets might look like. Aesthetically now, are we detracting from the presentation? If it's going to look like angle iron holding the thing up, it'll look kind of like something failed and we came around afterwards to try and stop it from failing. Nice.
Yeah, so I'll ask him to get some specifications before he produces anything.
Yeah.
And when he can do it. So,
Yeah.
and if he's too busy to tell us, because it is frustrating. Someone says, "I'll get it done," and 6 months later, they're still doing it.
Yeah.
So we want to get that sign up. And I will. I know Charlotte's talked about this before too. We call that building any number of things, right? The courthouse, the old town hall. So, and I know a long time ago, she said we should be consistent.
Oh, we do, yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the old brick town hall.
Okay, so maybe we can condition ourselves to call that the old brick town
That's
hall.
the old town hall, the old brick town hall.
We
Oh,
used
so we're differentiating between old wooden town hall, okay.
Yeah, old town hall, old brick town hall.
we had some famous buildings in town, one called the Ghettos and one called the Crack House. And the owners weren't happy at all. I said, put a sign on it and people will start calling it by that name. If you don't have a sign,
Yeah.
they're gonna keep calling it like a crack house. And the Ghettos kind of look like the Ghettos.
And they're not historic buildings, I assume.
No, I think they're both gone, actually.
Thank you,
So-
Mike.
One question, Larry, are we thinking of pursuing the idea about the windows next door? For next year, not so much this year?
Well, if you could get us some more information about the interior
Because
windows,
Michael-
I know you sent some, but
Michael
I personally think it's a great idea, and so,
That's gonna beautify don't you feel it's gonna beautify the building immensely?
I had a
maybe-
local glass shop make them. They're nothing more than a panel of glass or
Right.
plexi with a frame put on it and these twist
Yeah,
knobs.
exactly.
And we just pushed them on and they were very inexpensive. I don't recall the number. Obviously, those are huge windows.
But still, it wouldn't be that
And
much.
at that point, well, at that size, they'd be required to be tempered because of the size
Right.
of the glass. So all of a sudden, plexi looks a little bit better, but on the inside, the only people that are going to notice plexi are the people who are pushing on it,
Right.
because you're not
From a
going to be able to
distance, you
tell
won't
until
see
you.
it.
could we just get a range, a price range?
Yeah, we could, Glass Roots did mine
Okay.
at
and they
Shop in
could Do
Dover.
a walkthrough and give us an estimate?
Yeah, they could, I'd have to arrange for,
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Charlotte.
I'd just like to, one comment about it is, if you take off the exterior storm windows, then you have to paint the windows a lot more often.
that's
to
true.
Keep the putty in order. So
Well, it's still gonna look
it
better.
does increase the maintenance cost, and it can be guaranteed that the maintenance will be done.
That's
So
very
just
true.
something to
Good
think
point.
about.
Oh, on a related topic, I wonder if you have any thoughts.
So if I can, so can we cost estimate? I mean, it just for further discussion.
How about
and
if I
then-
get a cost some estimate for one,
Okay.
and then we can multiply out what
Yeah,
it is. And these can sometimes be phased projects, sometimes you can do an entire floor and then do something of that sort, but at least if we have the price for one, we'll have an idea, and we'll have to still look at the interior and make sure that a nice rectilinear panel fits in there nicely,
Yeah.
because that's why I went with interiors, because my outside were curved.
Yeah.
My inside was rectangle.
Okay. All right, and, yeah, thank you.
So just on a related topic, this is going way back, when Michael Bradley was the rector at St. George's, he and I talked about trying to replace that plexi on the outside of their stained glass windows with something transparent. Because there's protection, they have to have outside protection for the stained glass, but it's really faded, and those stained glass windows are wonderful. And at night, when they have services in there, if there's clear, it will be wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't talked with them in a long time. Is that a realistic thing, to be able to get a cover that's truly transparent so that those windows would be visible at night?
For the first 7 to 10 years, they will fade in time.
But there is they made it about 15 years ago. I still think they do. But it's a plexiglass that actually has glass.
Yeah.
So, because the problem with plexi is it gets scratchy and cloudy.
And even
But
the
with the
UV, yeah.
glass, when you can clean it and.
Laminate, yeah, it's the laminate.
And they made it in Sanford, Maine.
Yeah, there's a lot of varieties of that. With glass on both sides, plexi in the middle, plastic on the outside, glass on one side.
Yeah.
That's definitely more money, but it's, and certainly what you'd want if you're gonna be down near where people can touch it. Where it's up high, it may not be as critical, it won't get scratched from people, but the
clean.
UV factor, and especially the older plexiglasses, and I think Lexan was worse than plexi. One of them was worse than the other, I can't remember. But the older stuff definitely got milky, much more so than the newer compound.
Because I have to agree. I mean, I go by the church all the time, and I wish.
Yeah, well, maybe the minister there is really community-minded, so maybe we can have a conversation. But this is something that we don't want to reinvent the wheel, that I know people have grappled with, because stained glass is, very prominent. And so maybe there is some solutions out there that other folks have tackled.
You would think.
Yeah.
Would we want to write a letter to the church?
Yeah,
Or
I'm
we
a
can
big
just
fan
contact-
of conversation.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that
it's
feels a
just
little
softer.
too formal.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Larry, I can reach out to Nathan, or?
Yeah, Nathan,
or-
because this was before Nathan came.
Yeah,
and,
right. I'll just reach out to him,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tom, did you ask?
I just have one more question. Really, it's to Michael, if it votes for
Okay.
all of us. Michael, what happened with Three Chimneys as far as the drain situation at the cemetery?
I went out there,
Because I know you'd gone and you met with him. I wasn't
Yeah.
there, and you said you were going to get back. What was the final?
well, I was trying to get April to go out there. We were, which I haven't heard back from her. It seemed like a difficult solution, because it all flows behind that stone wall, so they probably have to create and the stone wall's pretty level,
yeah,
where
well,
it
what
comes
they
down.
could do.
So
like-
it might involve having to put some sort of, drainage holes in that wall.
You could
And
put
then
a,
they
what they
come
call,
down through the-
would a French ditch work?
Well,
Would a
but
French
then they
ditch
You
come
can
down,
pipe
well, that,
drainage.
that may be
What's
the
that?
best
You
way
can
to-
pipe drainage.
Yeah, pipe drainage, or the cheapest way would be to put a French ditch. I've had that done before in the parking lot.
That's- Yeah,
Or it's
most site guys can figure out a solution, people who work.
But the problem is, if any of you have gone over there, you saw the wall.
Yeah.
It's going like this. I'm not saying it's gonna go over this year or next year, but it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seemed receptive, and I'll
Well, for no other reason.
yeah.
Look at their roof. It's getting, well, where the drain is plugged right now, everything's growing into it, and that side of that roof is basically, yeah, they're gonna have a major problem
I
on the road
will
over there.
try again to get April out there
Yeah,
and see if
it
we
would
can
be nice to get
suggest
April out there.
Would Audrey be available as well? She might.
April's probably, she's,
April-
she's
April
an
feels
engineer
more-
dealing
Yeah.
with stormwater. I mean, well, Audrey would be,
Yeah, Audrey, I mean, we
You know,
all
it doesn't
deal
matter.
with structured
Yeah.
drainage.
yeah.
Get the
But-
folks out there who.
But
can help
I
us
think
get-
you may be right, some kind of French drain, depending on the soils there, is probably the best. Because rather than having it
You
punch
can't-
holes through the cemetery, no.
It's just gonna create it all
Yeah.
over again.
Yeah.
So, at the risk of micromanaging things, if we could just try to take care of that and whatever the solution might be.
And excuse me, one other question regarding that, is it, Rich, regarding the tree situation? That's where we're supposed to be thrown to next, as far as trees that are
Oh,
gonna be
yeah,
coming down.
after that meeting, I actually went over there. So I know they've done some maintenance over there.
But no trees have come
Yeah.
down.
But I can check in,
Yeah.
but he's aware of it.
Okay. Very good.
I think the only other unfinished business is a piece of chocolate sitting in Charlotte's spot.
Charlotte, can we
catch.
donate your chocolate? Unless we could threaten to save, we could save it for you.
So where did it come from?
Rachel had a stash.
And you're the only one that didn't have any.
I'll go myself a piece of chocolate, and you guys can split it up.
Who didn't get one? Did anyone get denied chocolate at the beginning?
No.
I had mine.
Well, Carolyn, would you like
I've
it?
had one, thank
Okay,
you.
you've had quota. I had two, so.
I'll eat
I
it.
think
If
Mike
you're trying to
had
get rid of it, I'll eat
We're
it.
trying to get rid of it.
Here we
yeah.
go.
Eric's-
Yeah. That was a
Nothing
bad
wrong with
throw. That was
Probably
on
got the
me.
best arteries in the crowd, so.
Yeah, right.
Try to change that.
And is there any updates on the zoning amendments around the height of buildings?
Well, the status is that the town council asked Doug Banks and I to come up with two approaches for a fourth-story, both a pitched roof and a setback, which we were going to present it to the council Monday, but they didn't get around. It was on the agenda. They didn't get around to it. So it is postponed till the first Monday in November. We'll
Okay.
present it to the council. They'll decide how they want to proceed. I mean, we have ordinance language, and they'll decide how to proceed and then send it to the planning board.
Just, go ahead.
No, go on, please.
So, Bethel Shansky sends us stuff, but the council chair was making a proposal for 48 feet height.
No, Doug and I, what is in our proposal is the eave of the third floor is a maximum of 35 feet. And the top of either the ridge of a sloped roof or the eave of a flat roof would be 45. Beth feels that's too high, but Doug's and my feeling is that would be a maximum. We have several pages of architecture regulations, and rather than say 40 feet, have a developer come in and say, you're really pinching me. I want 12 feet on my first floor, 10 feet on each, and say, well, you got to go for put room so that you've got a little bit of, thing to work with. That's what I think, and Doug thinks. If the council wants to set it at 40 or 42, that's up to them.
Okay, and just in general, it would be nice if there's something that affects the historic district. I mean, I know the planning board has jurisdiction around the zone ordinance, that we just be more involved in the conversation. There's a lot of it was outside the district, though our role as Heritage Commission was still that. But it just feels like we should have had more consultation around with Churchill. And I don't know if it's just a friendly call to the planning board chair. I don't know who that is, but I think, one, in general, it might be nice to just touch base with them on a variety of things, but I do feel we should have been more involved more quickly or sooner. And then we may not have had to, take opposition and write the letter that we did.
Well, okay, along those lines, the state passed legislation
Yeah.
on another matter requiring that any area zone commercial has to allow multifamily. So the planning board had a public hearing on another proposed ordinance, which they initiated, is going on to the council, that would allow multifamily in the church, post the professional office and the courthouse. I don't remember about. I don't remember if we brought that to you. That was mandated. We really don't have any choice. Public hearing was held last night. I think probably we had talked about this piece.
We talked about it at the same time we talked about the height requirements, but that was, I think, when it was at the council. So I guess my thought, way before it's the action by the planning commission and it gets to the council, we could weigh in. I mean, they can still do what they'd like to do, but we would have just been, one, more aware of it, but two, if there were concerns, we could have voiced them at the front end, not be opposing at the back end. And there's multifamily in the Churchill district now, so, and I know that got derailed a little bit because of the state mandate, which gets to my point about the state, regulating zoning in our communities. I think it's outlandish, but that's me. Okay, could I just go ahead, Carolyn?
But I wanted to say that, I think part of Beth's proposal is specifically affecting the downtown that is really close to the historic districts. We're not talking about the whole area. We're talking about a very specific location. And, there are historic houses bordering, commercial enterprises. And, if you have a historic house next to one of these, massive buildings, it's going to look horrible. And the other thing I want to express, and I expressed this on Monday night, is that, part of this is to theoretically get more people downtown. And we've had 3 housing developments put in the last 15 years, I'd say, at least. Yet, even increasing the student population downtown hasn't sustained these businesses. So why are we applying a solution that doesn't work instead of recognizing that, like the mall, Fox Run Mall, when I was in grad school, that was a thriving mall. And now it's dead, and it's going to be razed. So the impact on business and the, problems we're having in the downtown area isn't unique to us, and it's certainly caused in part by Amazon. And, I just feel like we're applying a solution that isn't necessarily well thought out. To have consultants come in and look at it from a more holistic view and figure out what's a good mix. I just feel that homework hasn't been done to really address, which certainly huge economic and cultural shifts that have occurred in the last decade.
Yeah, and that's a good thought, and it is. I know it was done a long time ago, but this week in New Hampshire Chronicle, they had Newmarket on, and they featured several of the businesses. And I know I was talking to a business owner a while back that Newmarket is the downtown that Durham should be, and it is remarkable to me that I've lived in several college towns that phenomenon. I think it's wonderful for Newmarket. I think rents might be part of it, but there's a dynamic vitality to Newmarket that feels like it should be here. And businesses fail. And I don't know the economics of it, but it just feels like our downtown as a college town should be more lively.
Well stated. We should be Newmarket.
Yeah.
What's the scary thing too is the whole higher education cliff that
Yes.
UNH is projecting.
Yes.
And the reduction in housing, and some of the corporate landlords are now very concerned about the drop in enrollment that they are forecast, which we might end up seeing some of that traditionally student housing being turned into family housing, you know, of different sorts, or not limited to students only. So the one thing when you brought up the historic house next to a potentially five-story building, it made me think of form-based housing, and I don't know if that's something the planning board has thought about as form-based zoning.
Yeah, I mean, we
a
our
struggle.
architecture regulations and we have the equivalent of it.
Yeah.
Downtown.
So, and that's where that allows, at least, you know, every property that's a multifamily or commercial has to go site plan review. And that's the opportunity for, well, I guess it depends, like you say, maybe it needs to be written in more clearly because the loophole they find. We know that from Young Drive when they wanted to put that five-story building in behind the houses there. And I don't know if they had the sloped roofs, and they said, oh, because our ceiling, our building height went to the midline of the roof. And so they added another story with these really steep roofs and dormered it and said, no, the roof line's down here.
Where was this?
Young Drive, right behind the other neighborhood. And
Oh, you mean their proposal way back when for that
yeah,
scene?
yeah, and yes, and they went. Planning board denied them, ZBA denied them, everyone denied them, but they were looking at creative ways to
Good
get
luck,
around it.
yeah.
Thank goodness it never happened, but yeah, it seems like just making sure that we have some form-based component in so the planning board's ability to
Oh, we do
utilize
have
it.
that, the architecture regulations and other specific things about central business. It's the same as form-based code.
Yeah.
It's
So
stronger.
that helps
It's
your
stronger.
concern, is that
Yeah.
hopefully that you don't have the 5-story next to a 1.5-story.
You look like
Speaking to your point about UNH, it's anticipated they're going to be losing 2,000 students over the next few years. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is horrible because that's what it does to a state's economy is horrible.
Yeah.
People tend to move to where they went to school. And we've got a graying of New Hampshire, and we're already having trouble hiring. Well, you just go anywhere. I mean, I went to Staples and took about 10 minutes to get a cashier. It's very hard to hire people at retail and hospitality industry.
And forestry, getting foresters, they're lacking.
Like Carolyn said, everybody runs to Amazon. which
If I
is
could
cool.
reel this in here. Yeah. So maybe when we're doing the zoning ordinance review, we can also think, you know, that's an opportunity to engage the planning board in a proactive way. And yeah, I did notice coming home, I had to be at the hospital yesterday, and coming back through town, I noticed the Whittemore Center is no longer the Whittemore Center. It's now the
Key Auto.
Yeah.
The Key.
A long time ago, Larry.
Was it? So I haven't
Maybe
been
a
that
year
into
ago.
town, so I just chuckled. One, the Whittemores have now
Yeah.
been dumped from the business college.
Well, where's
and
the Whittemore
arena.
Business School? Yeah.
So,
Wisby's gone.
and I'm, but part of it, I did joke about what Thompson Hall must be next. And yeah, but if all of our buildings are going to now be corporate identified, but I hadn't seen that. But I will say the blue neon just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
doesn't feel like it has anything to do with anything around it. So I don't know who thought that was a good presentation of that sign, but
I think it's just
it was their logo and they have blue. Okay, and they paid for it.
Yep.
Yeah, and they donated. Okay,
Money
well,
seems to talk.
yeah, we do know money have now been dumped twice. So all right. Any other business?
Well, I will make a motion that we close the meeting.
Yes.
seconded.
And as our tradition is not
Oh,
debatable,
Charlotte.
one more roll call vote. We'll start with Charlotte.
Okay, is this to adjourn?
Yes, it's to go home.
Yes.
He's already home.
And Aaron, we'll go with you.
Yeah, Aaron Wolfson Slepian, yes.
Larry Berkner-Wood, yes.
Michael Hoffman, yes.
Carolyn Singer, yes.
Yes. I don't know anyone who's voted no not to adjourn a meeting, but because we've only